3 for 3 podcast. Paul Teach Nelson, joined by Coach Frank LaFada and the podfather himself, Alex Gullett. Fellas, I know I'm very happy and chipper. I got my energy up, but this is going to be a sad part 3 of episode 30. This is very sad for me. I'm a little upset. The Celtics have made some moves the last couple days. I want to talk about an autopsy for the Celtics. I need you guys. I need your input. I need your feedback. You guys know as much NBA as anybody else's I know. So I really want to hear your thoughts on some burning questions I have, right? Now, the first one that just came through a couple days ago was Joe Mazzulla being offered the full freight. They're dropping the interim. He is now completely the head coach. They're going to retain him. I've been going back and forth again and again and again. So I want to go ahead. I want to sit on the couch. I want to tell you my feelings, and you let me know, did they make the right choice? Did they make the wrong choice? So
yeah, I love
my
that.
my first thought immediately was, do you fire Mazzulla? No. You know, that the Heat never fired Spoelstra after his first season, and they struggled. Pop is still in San Antonio, even though he struggled early on. You don't, these very important, great franchises don't have coaching changes. And then I rewatched the games again and said, these guys aren't prepared. We don't have time as a franchise. Boston does not have time to wait for Joe Mazzulla. Okay. As soon as they announced, hey, we're retaining him, 3 of his assistants bolted and went to Houston to follow Ime Udoka. I was sick and tired of seeing them lose against the zone. The Suns just hired Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel was a video assistant and assistant coach for Boston. Could have hired Sam Cassell. They could have brought in Rajon Rondo or somebody. Fellas, let me know what Podfather, did they make the right move? Should they have fired Joe Mazzulla, or are you happy that they kept him? And I want you to set aside your Lakers hat and talk to me as a NBA fan and expert, okay?
Okay, so here's what I would have done. I would have fired him the day of the game. He wouldn't have been allowed to fly back on the plane with the team. That's exactly what would have happened. They should have passed on Joe. And I think there was a couple candidates out there that were better suited to raise up 2 young guys to the next level. I'm speaking of, if they brought in a new coach, that should have maybe signified they were going to keep Brown and Tatum, right? And so I think they should have brought in a new coach. That's me.
Coach, what do you think?
Gosh, it's hard. But I mean, I guess for me, if you're not going to give the guy a fair chance with his own guys, and you keep Udoka's guys in there, like you got to give him a shot. He did lead his team to a conference final. It's not like he didn't go anywhere. They had a really good record this season, and it's kind of how I feel about the Darvin Ham situation. Yeah, there was other coaches out there, but he's in that locker room already. Let him get his own guys in there. Let him get another season in. I don't feel like this one and done thing should be done. You got to give a coach a couple years to be honest. But he had so many questionable things. I think you just give him 1 year. Let him have his assistants. Let him have it for 1 year. Let him ride it out and see what happens.
I think you look at it, man. You have Nick Nurse available. You have Frank Vogel available. I stay on the name Mark Jackson. Like that guy not having an opportunity to coach. Like Monty Williams went to Detroit. You think he would have picked Detroit over Boston? I don't know. Good luck with Coach Joe. Okay.
Yeah, I keep leaning toward they probably made the wrong decision. I think, and I understand this. Hey, continuity. I mean, if check out again episode 29 that we did last week. We did a Laker autopsy, and both of you guys were very dead set on they should keep Ham. Keep him in the building. Seems like everybody loves him. My biggest problem is Al Horford did a lot of the coaching this year. Now, something that you brought up, Podfather, was, hey, that would signal that they're keeping their young guys. Now, listen, we talk a lot about Jaylen Brown, and it's going to continue to be talked about. He has a 5-year extension, $295 million, up to $295 million extension, ready and waiting because he made the All-NBA team again. So I don't think there's a hesitation. I do want to know the question that everybody is asking is, can these 2 Jays, can Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, can they win it all? So I just wanted to go through, and I sent you guys a list of pairings, right? I sent you a list of dynamic duos. So let's just play Would You Rather, okay? So you can either say Jays or nays, okay? So would you rather have Jays or the other groups? All right, so let's start with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Jays or nays?
Jays.
Jays.
Okay. What about Darius Garland and Spida Mitchell?
Jays.
Jays.
Okay. One of my favorite young pairings, Franz Wagner, who Coach loved, and Paolo Banchero, who he also loves. What do you think, Jays or
Jays.
nay?
Jays.
Okay. Jimmy and Bam or Jays?
Jays.
Jays.
SGA and Giddy or Jays?
Jays.
Ja and Bane or Jays?
Jays.
Is Ja carrying? I'm going Jays.
We'll
I'm
find
going
out
Jays.
after the finals.
All right. So Cat and Ant Man from Minnesota or Jays?
Jays.
Kawhi and PG or the Jays?
Jays.
Nays.
Okay.
Healthy.
AD and LeBron or the Jays?
Right now,
Nays.
This is going forward. This is again next year and going forward.
Jays.
Let's go to New Orleans, right? Brandon Ingram and Zion, or I guess Brandon Ingram and CJ maybe, or the Jays.
Jays.
Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle or the Jays?
Jays.
Okay. I think those were kind of all hitting on the same place that, hey, this is a dynamic duo. Now let's get into some harder ones. Jokic and Jamal Murray are the Jays.
Nays.
Nays.
I think you got to go nays. I think we're 3 for 3 there because look at what they're doing in the finals. Trey and DeJounte or the Jays?
Jays.
Okay. Tyrese Maxey and Embiid or the Jays?
Jays.
Giannis and Drew or the Jays?
Nays.
Jays.
Okay, I lean toward the Jays as well. I just don't know about Giannis going forward. I don't know about Drew. And last one, Booker and Durant or the Jays?
Nays.
Jays.
Wow. So when everybody's talking about like, hey, we need to break them up, obviously this isn't working, right? This isn't working. You got to split them up. You got to trade Jaylen Brown. We're talking about that from a financial perspective. I mean, out of all these people in the NBA, I think there was pretty much consensus we would take the Jays unless it's Jokic and Murray, a couple disagreements with AD and LeBron, Booker and Durant. I mean, I think, listen, the ultimate item is Wick Grusbeck, the minority owner, right? He's kind of the spokesman owner for the Boston Celtics, isn't going to foot the bill like he did this year, right? They spent $247 million in salary and luxury tax. That's fourth in the NBA. Can you guys name the other 3 teams that are higher than them?
Golden State Warriors.
Golden State is at a staggering $351 million for a second round exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lakers.
No.
No,
Lakers
nowhere near.
Lakers not on that list.
Philadelphia 76ers.
No, sir. Now you're closer when you hit the Lakers geographically.
Really?
If it's not
It's
the Lakers,
Sacramento.
if it's not the Lakers,
The Clippers for sure. Yeah.
the Clippers.
Kawhi.
I didn't think about that.
$331 million,
Yeah.
Dr. Evil. $331 million, sir. Yeah, that's nuts. And there's one other one, which it's a tough one to guess. It's considered a small market team. They have won a championship recently.
Milwaukee. Yeah, it's Milwaukee because they
Milwaukee is third. $263 million. Now, Phoenix and Dallas are both in the ballpark around 230. But it's safe to say Boston, they are not going to foot that bill again. So we're going to see some changes out there. My question real quick to you is, would you keep the Jays? Would you extend both of them? Or would you look for a trade? Podfather, what do you think?
I think I would look for a trade.
Okay.
Short answer, I would look for a trade. I'm keeping Jason Tatum. I have to trade Jaylen Brown.
Okay. Why would you have to trade him?
Well, I see where they're
Don't.
at. 3 different coaches. It's been a couple years. I love the way they play. Don't get me wrong.
Don't do it.
And I think 2 wings is super great in the NBA. But
Don't you say it.
they're too much of the same player. Okay, and I think he can't dribble.
I knew it was coming.
If you make the guy go left to turnover 70% of the time, I'm just saying we can look it up statistically. Like if the guy goes left, it's a turnover.
I'm glad. Listen,
That's
I am
70%.
I am glad you said that. He's having the similar kind of success Kobe Bryant had at age 26 when he couldn't take a mediocre team to the playoffs and finished the season losing 7 out of 8 in his last 3 games. 8 turnovers, 6 turnovers, 6 turnovers. So you're right. There are some he can't dribble. He needs to. I think teams have learned you just bum rush him. But Coach, we're going to go to you. Would you trade one of the Jays?
Never.
We know what you're going to say, Podfather.
Never. I don't think you ever trade these guys. I think you let these guys play for the rest of their career. I think you have the ability to have great talents. They're so young. They're so adaptive. They're 2 defensive and offensive minded type players. Boston doesn't make it to the finals if Jaylen Brown ain't on that team. He had some impressive games beforehand. Did he have a bad series? Yes. Did they have some great series beforehand where Tatum was struggling? Yes. So the point is they play off each other to a certain way. Some of the pieces didn't fit. Al Horford wasn't going to be able to match very well with some of the situations, in my opinion. I think that they need to figure out a different method about it. Marcus Smart is a 2 out of 3 favorite on this podcast, but Marcus Smart may be in the wrong team because they already have 2 defensive-minded guys. They probably need a couple complete scoring threats to help assist with their defensive talented team. And I'm not talking about who's the point guard, Brogdon. I'm talking about an actual, like a Seth Curry, something along them lines to flip up some of the things. I think that if they have a little more shooting, it never hurts anybody. I think they need another big guy, just not Horford, somebody else. So some of the auxiliary pieces needs to go. I think if you flip the and others, if they flip their others with the Lakers others, I think they're in way better shape. It's got to be something along them lines, though.
Okay, Podfather, what do you got to say, man? Go ahead, shoot off your shot, buddy.
Listen. First of all, never compare Jaylen Brown to Kobe Bryant because I know they had similar seasons at that age, but the ceiling for Kobe Bryant is so much higher than Jaylen Brown.
I just compared their turnovers. That's all I compared.
No.
Okay.
There's no more ceiling for Kobe Bryant.
Number 2, Frank. Number 2 is it's hard for me to say that I think Jaylen Brown is very close to his ceiling. I don't think Tatum's at his ceiling yet, right? So out of the 2, you got to keep one of them. But I think Boston needs so much more depth that you got to take one of the stars out. There's no way to make it happen next year if you don't take one of those max contracts out.
I don't know that depth was a problem because they had the 6th man of the year winner in Malcolm Brogdon. Here's my next question for you, pivoting off of, all right, so if we need to tweak the roster, which both of you guys are saying there needs to be tweaks to this roster. My first question, Coach, for you, if you have to move either Brogdon or Smart, which one are you moving?
Can I say both?
You absolutely can.
Both.
Okay. Podfather, what do you think?
I'm moving Smart. I'm keeping Brogdon.
Okay. I think there are some trades out there. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and offer up my trade machine expertise because as you guys know, I am the trade machine guru. I happen to shoot them off all the time. I think the other night I shot off maybe 9 or 10. Coach wasn't paying attention. He was ignoring them. But 9 or 10 different trades
practice.
going. Marcus Smart, is he worth this? Is he worth this? What's he worth? So the first one is kind of Coach's favorite phrase, some low-hanging fruit, okay? This is Marcus Smart to a Western Conference team who is looking to make the playoffs next year. I'm talking about the San Antonio Spurs. So Marcus Smart moving to the Spurs for a 2024 first-rounder, which would be a low first-rounder because they have 3 different picks, and then trying to use a second-rounder to bring in Ricky Rubio. What are your thoughts on that, Podfather? So they're bringing in Ricky Rubio, a veteran point guard, somebody that they need to run the show. They're thinning out Marcus Smart from the team, letting Malcolm Brogdon kind of run point and gaining a first-round pick.
Hate it.
Why?
I think there's so many more options for Marcus Smart, and I don't have them all right on top of the head, but I think he's much better than that low of a first round they get from San Antonio in the third pick, first rounder. And then Ricky Rubio, to me, he's not a replacement. I know he's a great point guard in his day, way past his prime.
Okay,
Boston already has that problem.
Yeah, wouldn't be replacing him. Like I said, they've moved Malcolm Brogdon to the starting lineup. Coach, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't love pieces from San Antonio. That's why I've never loved the Lakers trade for him. I just don't believe in them. I believe in the disgruntled star players to come out there. I think that when they leave there, they have some type of, I don't know, it's like Pop holds certain players down. And when they leave there, they seem to have good things like DeMar DeRozan. There's a couple other players that came out and said certain things. But like DeJounte Murray's not having a bad year outside of there. I don't think that he technically makes the great guys have outstanding seasons, but them other guys, those seem to play better in San Antonio, and I don't trust them other pieces.
All right, so that was the low-hanging fruit. That was the hey, let's just put some feelers out there, okay? So this next one, Smart and Malcolm Brogdon, and this is kind of a, hey, we're swinging for the fences type trade. For Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, 2 second-rounders, and a first-round pick. You're resetting. You're getting a true point guard in there. Chris Paul can at least take you to the finals. As long as you don't expect too much of him, that gives you your depth. It allows kind of a veteran leader who's going to talk about Chris Paul all you want. I mean, when he went to Houston, well, he won with LA, right? He went to Houston, took them to the playoffs, to a game 7 against Golden State, took OKC there, a couple of young guys. And then in Phoenix, the same thing, took them to a finals. So what are your thoughts, Podfather?
If I'm Phoenix, I'm jumping all over that. If I'm Boston, no way. But if I'm Phoenix, yeah, I'm jumping all over it.
Coach?
I love it for Boston. I love it for Phoenix. I think it provides exactly what they need. That ability to hold the ball, control the offense. It seems like they need an
adult?
Yeah, they need an adult that's not a guy that just throws arranged shots in the air and just like Marcus Smart's like phenomenal leader. I just don't think he's the offensive guy that can help this team. And that's really what's lacking here. Again, these are two stars that they're two-way players, but they're really, really good on defense. And because of that, they can hold a lot of things. Chris Paul can bring the relevancy on offense. He could teach them some of the little tricks. I love it. I think if you're swinging for the fences and going for a chip, it's a great swing. I'm not mad at this at all.
I don't think Boston going into next year could afford to have a point guard not play 40 games.
I think when you have Derek White and other people on the roster, Pritchard, I mean, it's not Phoenix. They're not going to
Shamet.
He's not going to have. They're not going to have him play 39 minutes a game. I think
Boston, he's got 4 guys now with that because they got White, Shamet, Pritchard, and Paul with that trade.
Pritchard for now. He's demanding a trade, but I don't know what Peyton Pritchard demanding a trade means. So I have 3 more trades, and they're all Jaylen Brown trades. So this is, again, if Wick Grusbeck decides, I don't want to pay him, somebody else can pay him, whatever. He's got 1 more year, a $31 million deal. Let's go ahead and trade him. So the first one is kind of for a young guy, right? So Jaylen traded to Oklahoma City for Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, the 12th pick in this draft. What do you think, fellas? Podfather?
Not enough. You got to have more. Not enough. I thought you were going to say like SGA.
I think Giddey might be worth as much as SGA in certain circles. It's a weird trade. I don't know. It doesn't seem logical for Oklahoma to make that move instead of just keep going with it going. But then at the other end of that, SGA, known for being a cone on defense, brings them that guy. Giddey's not known to be a defensive superstar. He brings a ball handler. He brings offense just as much. He can actually dribble for you, Podfather. So that could be like maybe if they throw in one of the 37,000 picks, a couple more at the end. I think 1 is not enough. Maybe another one. Jaylen Brown's worth more than that, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm high on him, so there's that.
2 other trades. All right. So another young, hey, let's hit the reset. Jason Tatum's our guy going forward, but let's slightly adjust. Houston has said they are all in next year. They want to make the playoffs, right? Let's go ahead and move Jalen for Jalen Green. So Jalen for Jalen, the 4th pick, and Alperen Şengün. So you get your big man, you get a shooting guard to replace Jalen Brown, and you get the 4th pick in the draft. Might be Scoot Henderson. I'm hearing it's probably not going to be that he's going to be the 2nd pick in the draft, but it could be Scoot or Amen or Asir Thompson. What do you think of that, Podfather?
I don't hate that. Maybe if you can get a switch at next year's draft also, right?
Okay.
I think I could do that, but I'd want that switch.
Okay. Coach? Well, Jalen on Jalen action here.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like none of that. I don't like it for Boston. I mean, it's great for Houston. I just don't like it for Boston. I think Jaylen Brown. I don't like trading Jaylen Brown, so I'm kind of torn about a lot of these things. I need more. I just don't like Jalen Green for Jaylen Brown. I don't know how it helps Boston personally, unless you're really just saying I'm not going to win for a year or two. I'm not going to be that competitive, and then we're going to try to draft. We're going to trust the process.
No, here's why I love it though, because I think at that point you bring in Şengün, you're able to get off of Time Lord, right? So you can move off of him. He's been injured, crazy,
or you can limit his minutes.
Either way, you have 2 defenders that can rotate in and out and can big. And Williams can switch. And so he gives you that switchable 5. And I love Jalen Green coming in. He's a spark. He's a different kind of player, but he's a spark. The biggest thing is that 4th pick. You're going to get value out of that 4th pick, and it's going to be young. So it resets the cap in Boston because you're going to get a pick at 4 who – it is what it is. You got to pay that guy, but it's nothing like that Supermax, right? And so I love the reset. I like that one more than anything you've said so far.
Okay, the last one I have is kind of he's not a superstar. I don't think he's a superstar. At one point, he was considered by it. So it would be Jaylen Brown along with Malcolm Brogdon or Marcus Smart to Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns, Mike Conley, and a 1st-round pick. Coach?
I don't think Cat's a winner. So I begin and end with that. I believe Jalen is. I don't think Cat is. At the end of the day, I'll rest on some of the things that you can't see in the stat sheet. And for me, I just don't trust Cat.
Podfather?
If you can get McDaniels thrown into that, also that lengthy wing defender, 3-and-D guy, I love that trade. Love that. It gives them something they haven't had in a long time. And I don't care what anybody says. We saw Cat do it in early play in the play-in. Look, the guy can play basketball. He is what he is. But if somebody could teach him and hold him accountable to what he's doing on the floor, taking erratic shots, making the dumb play, he learns how to play basketball the right way with the point guard, with the Jason Tatum, who's obviously going to be the number 1 option. I love it.
I think
what makes you think he learns?
I think it brings
Boston?
up. Well, I think he played a lot better when Mike Conley was traded to them. That's why I would want Mike Conley. And I think Mike Conley is kind of poor man's Chris Paul, where he's going to be the adult in the room. He's going to be able to be a veteran presence for them. Also, I mean, Minnesota turned their season around when they made that trade. So that's the trades I have. I'm sure there's going to be a lot. Listen, there's going to be a lot of trades, going to be a lot of free agents. Their most important free agent is Jaylen Brown, obviously. But are there any names that stick out for you guys when looking at Boston? I mean, they're kind of handicapped, right?
Yeah.
They're in a really tough spot.
I think the most important thing for them is going to be kind of is Gallinari going to come back after injury? Maybe targeting a veteran point guard like George Hill, some voice like that. Maybe you try and get a stretch big like Kevin Love if he wants to play in Boston. I mean, those are the names I think they're going to have to go after. They can't go after any big fish unless it's via trade.
But I think that's just like repetitive nature, right? You brought in the Blake Griffin, you bring in the Al Horford, you bring him back, you do all this stuff. You got to quit repeating that same process, and you got to freshen it up a little bit. And so,
Horford's not the same as Blake Griffin, though.
I think that what happens is I think they end up extending Jaylen Brown, right? They're going to do
Tatum
in a year. Tatum. And they got to come off a couple people, and it could be Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, something like that. They got to make a few moves, add a little more shooting, a little more offensive firepower. They're going to be fine. They're going to be a good team for a long time. Those two J's are great.
I'm glad you brought that up because the last question that I have is Well, are they going to be great for a long time? Is what are the expectations going forward for next year, the next 3 years? And what I put kind of the question to you guys for you to think about was, is this team like the 90s Pacers team, right? They got there once to the finals once, but they were always in the Eastern Conference Finals. Is this team more like the Oklahoma City Big Three of Harden, Durant, and Russ that made it to a finals? And we thought, hey, this team's going to be there all the time. And then they traded away Harden. So they got too cute, retooled, and then never made it a finals again. Or is this team kind of like Wilt Chamberlain's 76ers way back in the 60s, where they were continuously in the Eastern Conference Finals, in the finals, didn't win. And then in year 7, they finally got over the hump. So which team is this more like? Are they like the 90s Pacers, the OKC team that they're going to get too cute, retool, and end up taking a dive? Or is this like Wilt's team that finally gets over the hump? Maybe like that Dallas team, that Dirk team that finally gets over the hump. What do you think, Podfather?
Out of these three, if I got to pick one of these three, and I will, they're not like I can't say the Pacers because I never thought they were talented enough to win the championship. OKC Big Three, different scenario. They got broken up for different reasons. You had a lot of personality there, which I don't think Boston struggles with because I don't know
Different
that Jaylen
reasons?
Brown. Well, they broke up because of
Financial.
personalities. But
No,
it was
financial. It was financial.
Westbrook and Durant also hated each other. We can turn an eye to it if we want to, but they did
That's
not
why they
get
moved
along.
Harden.
Well, Harden didn't want to be sixth man anymore.
No, he was fine with it. He just wanted to get paid.
No, Harden knew what he was. Harden knew what he was. He went to Houston and burned the NBA up, burned them up for years. Jaylen Brown's not that. But anyways, what I'm saying is, I don't think they're that team either. I would be more like the Wilt Chamberlain 76ers because I think they're going to get over the hump. I think they're young enough, they're good enough. That's got to come together. A few pieces. Same thing the 76ers did. Bring in one or two. I think Boston gets over the hump. I don't know that they win a championship for the Lakers. I hope not, but they're in better shape than the Lakers.
Coach, what do you think?
Yeah, I would have to agree, Podfather. If there's anything, I think they're going to get over the hump and win one. I don't think that they're just going to be in purgatory and conference final hell for the next 10 years. But I'll be honest, they've had great careers. I mean, this is not a loss. I mean, to a point, I said about a year or two ago, the GM deserves, Danny Ainge deserved some of the blame for not winning them a championship when they were young, cost controlled, and had everything in front of them. They should have pulled something out of the hat then. They didn't do it. They dropped the ball. Now they got to pay the guys. For them too, I don't think they've had a bad career. If they just keep going to the conference finals over and over and over and gosh, man, so many teams can't even make it there. I mean, like they would give their right arm to be there. So I'm not saying that they're everything we are. We do have a ring culture, so it is what it is. But I don't think it's a horrible career of what they've done. And I think a lot of these decisions are only based upon because the only thing that matters is winning a ring. If I consider them a successful tandem and one of the better ones, period, in the NBA. That's why I only took one tandem over them out of the whole NBA because I believe that much in them and that they can be here for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, I don't know that Ainge deserves any hate. I mean, he tried to do it. He tried to bring in Kyrie, and that just didn't work out. That was a Kyrie issue, not a Celtic issue, not a Danny Ainge issue. Podfather, you had something to say?
Yeah, what I was going to say was I was actually going to refer to Danny Ainge because Danny Ainge is the guy that drafted Jaylen Brown. Everybody in the world thought he was crazy when he drafted this kid who had nobody even knew who he was. And I remember watching the draft, every announcer was like, Jaylen Brown.
He had a great high school career, had a subpar year at California.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so, but Danny Ainge seeing the upside. Boston is Boston because of Danny Ainge right now. I just want to set that record straight. Danny Ainge is the one that did this whole thing. And so, yeah.
Now, I just want to say two things, okay? And a little of this goes kind of toward what Podfather knows. A little bit goes toward what Coach says. You know, the Milwaukee Bucks beat the tar out of the Celtics in 1983, okay? What did the Celtics do? 4 years? They went to the finals every year for those next 4 years. So, and people were saying, well, you got to break this team up. You got to break this team up. Okay, you can't lose to, you can't be swept by the Milwaukee Bucks. Got to break this team up. Shaq and Kobe, right? They lost. They lost their first 2 years together. Nobody was saying you got to break them up. And then when there were issues amongst Shaq and Kobe, And the team went ahead and made the correct choice to say, let's get out of here. Let's fix this. Well, it worked. It was smart. Okay. It took a little while. Kobe struggled. He went and looked at houses in Chicago, but they figured it out. I think these two guys will figure it out. I do think by the time their career is over, again, age 26 and 25 right now, this isn't the end of the tunnel. They haven't hit their NBA prime yet, but they're going to. So Boston, you are officially put on notice. Time to start tweaking some things. Okay? Stay the course, but time to start tweaking. Fellas, final thoughts. Podfather?
Final thoughts, man. I'm excited for next year for the Boston Celtics. I'm excited to walk through it with you. We're kind of new at this, walking through the NBA season together, NFL seasons together, and we have totally opposite attracts on who we root for. I'm an LA fan. You're a Boston fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. You're a Bills fan, right? So there's a lot of history between our teams, and we happen to be on opposite sides. I will say again, I think Boston's in better shape than LA. Okay, the 3-for-3 jinx is real. Boston is in better shape than LA. Boston will win a title before the LA Lakers. Okay, just for you, Teach. Hang in there. Boston's going to be okay.
Coach?
I just want to say one thing for the ring culture fanatics out there. People considered Michael Jordan the GOAT after he won 3, not 6. If we were considered about ring culture, Bill Russell should never be. He should always be the GOAT. Nobody should name nothing, even though he only played against 8 teams. The point is, he was considered the GOAT after 3, not 6. He was walking into that. He was already there. What I will go say is, stop overreacting. These guys are just kids. They're playing the game. They're learning. It's a thing. Jason Tatum's getting better and better and better every year, and he's not getting any shorter. That's all I'm saying. He's a big guy. They're defensive. They're a pleasure to watch. Boston's got a bright future ahead. If they just keep them two on the team, they're a perennial finals team every single year. With a couple tweaks, they could be an unstoppable force with a couple moves. Just a couple moves. They don't have to make crazy moves. They need a pick here, a free agent to make here. They just need a little bit of luck, and that's what they haven't had since Danny Ainge. And I don't want to discredit Danny Ainge. He did a great job, but my point is to get him over the hump, he needed to hit the shot that he missed on. He deserves the fault for that.
Lucky's the name of their mascot, number one, okay? They got all the luck in the world. Number two, let me explain something to you. In 1987, the world already knew Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player on the earth, okay? It was before any of the championships. Get it right. Again, watch 80s and 90s basketball. Listen to it correctly. Everybody already knew Michael Jordan was the greatest.
Nobody thought that.
The Boston...
All
right, listen, you guys can save your Michael Jordan stuff for another podcast, all right? This is the Celtics Autopsy. Just shut up, go back and watch our other ones, okay?
I just complimented them.
Listen, okay? Just keep everything to yourself. I don't know how you're trying to hijack my Boston episode with your Michael Jordan stuff. Calm down. That's it. That's a wrap, okay? The Boston Celtics been to 5 of the last 7 Eastern Conference Finals in a finals appearance. Again, Jaylen Brown, for all those individuals who are saying trade him, again, there are only 2 other players who have been to more playoff games than him at age 26, Tony Parker and Kobe Bean Bryant. That's it.
What? Whoa. What? Say it again.
Yeah, there's only 2 other players who have been to more playoff games than Jaylen Brown at age 26. That would be
True
Tony
story.
Parker and Kobe Bryant.
I gotta check. I gotta fact check that. I don't believe it to be true.
Please do. Go ahead.
Where's LeBron ranking that?
That's what I'm saying. I want to know what that is.
At age 26? Yeah, he
had 7 years in the NBA at that time.
He didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years, right?
No. And you missed the whole conversation, Coach. We've already talked about this.
Yeah, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, follow, let us know what you think. And remember, just like Boston should remember, perfection is the enemy of progress. I am Teach Nelson for Coach Frank LaFada, for Podfather Alex Gullett. We're 3 for 3. We're out.